And then they're like,
consistency.
We would like to call up our deacon candidates, Q and U. And I'm like, what? No, what? What kind of a church is this? And then I was thinking, oh, what kind of a church is this? Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Hey guys, or whatever you want to say. Okay.
Are you nervous?
We actually like to have like the banter kind of in the beginning to like really make sure that everyone knows that this is just a casual talking to each other kind of thing. But okay. Hey everyone, welcome to the CCPC podcast. I'm Eric, your host, and today we have the wonderful Jhoonho Yoon. Hi, Jhoonho.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really, really well.
How's your drive up here today?
It was a little frantic.
Yeah,
a lot of fast driving
coming up from Fredericksburg.
Yes,
yeah, I'm sure it was fast, but within the law, right?
It really was not.
Okay, you know what? We'll go into that in a little bit. But then, if you were to specifically think of your own hot take, I don't know. Let's see. What do you know a lot about that you could have different ideas on than the average person?
Than the average person?
Right.
Oh, my God.
I guess that's not necessarily a hot take, but it might lead into one. So
I don't know.
Okay, what about working on cars, right? The average person might have certain ideas about that. What do you think is completely different than what the average Joe thinks?
I just don't want to open the can of worms.
This is the time to open.
I hope you're ready to tangent.
I love worms. They taste delicious.
They're really not. I don't know if you've ever eaten one.
I've never eaten one.
They're not
I've
good.
had some crickets.
They're not good. They don't taste good either.
Well, that's not a hot take. That's a very lukewarm take,
everything is not good. Like if you have ever had an earthworm in your mouth,
I have not had an earthworm.
They're not delicious.
Was that like a dare? Or was that
no? I looked at it and I'm thinking it's a lot like
that deserves to be in my tummy right now.
The Ojingo. Wait, are we on now?
We're always on.
This is official. We're going.
I could cut at any point.
Oh wow. Okay.
I figure if it gets too off the rails, we just restart.
We're talking. Cars, right?
Cars.
I feel like the education of knowing the basics of fixing your car, is something that is absolutely a life essential.
Right.
And nobody knows.
No one knows.
How? Why?
What is one really easy thing that people can and should be able to do, but that they don't do?
Well, for one thing, just something basic. What size are your tires? And what is the speed rating on it? You don't know.
Yes. I may have to go look at that.
They're black.
Yeah, and they roll.
Yeah.
They're circular.
Right.
One might even say cylindrical.
So here's the can of worms where it really just imagine if the education system replaced things like the Pythagorean theorem, right? Save that for people who need to know it. Like, in college.
Yeah, a squared plus b squared.
And then you actually know how to change your tires.
Right.
And when to change them and why you need to change them. These are important life things, okay? Mm-hmm. I would argue to say, like, what kind of toothpaste is more important than knowing what the capital of South Dakota is? Unless you live there. That's a different story.
Can you name one thing in South Dakota besides Mount Rushmore?
I
can't even
ask you, is it in north or south? But does it matter?
North. Or south, yeah.
Right. The correct answer is who cares?
What's the worst set of tires that you've seen, like, in terms of tread?
Well, you know what? When I was in my 20s, which was
very
last
recently,
year,
right? Yeah.
I used to take my tires down. Oh, that's a distraction.
That's a distraction.
First of all, it's 1:00.
Wow.
People need to know this.
Nice. Good to know.
PM. Okay. Not AM.
You're giving away what time we're doing these things. Yeah. What if we're doing them at 2 a.m.?
It's possible.
Never known.
It's possible. That would be a great time for me because I'm awake.
That's the optimal Jhoonho time.
I will have to stay awake.
Sure. Oh, right.
For my newborn.
Good.
I hate him so much.
Cut that. Yeah, actually, talking about your cars brings me to when you used to be, or maybe still dabble in being a car designer. I mean, we used to talk
Oh
about that in the
yeah,
past.
yeah.
I actually would do some research in these, and I've found one of your examples from.
Oh
a
my
long time
gosh,
ago.
that was a quick little like Lexus,
Right, just like small contest
IS,
kind of thing, right?
Like it was there were some parameters for SEMA.
Sure, which is
So Toyota was putting out this thing like, okay, we're gonna let the fans design this car, and then that was somewhat nominated. But
I
yeah.
saw it hit the semifinals.
But I
or
think
something.
it didn't make the cut because the wheels. I just copied and pasted off another because I was too lazy to design them.
I mean, it looks sick. I'll post this in the description when I put the video up. But I also found is this also you?
Oh yeah, that's me as well. Yeah,
For those who can't see, this is just his website showing some designs.
just random. Wow, you were
Most
so
random.
creepy.
I do research.
Oh my
I choose to say it as
gosh.
research.
Wow.
But this feels probably
Is my son circumcised or not? Did you find it on
I did
Google?
not.
You found it. You found it.
I may have asked Cindy. I haven't asked Cindy. But when you were a car designer, when you did all this design stuff, can you just talk a little bit about that? Like how long ago that was, why you stopped doing it?
Oh boy. Wow. Well, so when I graduated from design school, it was like 2007, and I was not young. So for a college grad, it was like a trade school. It's called Art Center College of Design. It's not a trade school. It's like a legit four-year university, but it's like a trade school.
Gotcha.
Because you just go right into your craft off the shoot. Like our gen eds were, for example, one's called designers math. It's just BS math. We had a guy actually from JPL teaching us arithmetic.
Interesting.
Going into the science of if you do put 1 and 2 together, let's break it down a little bit. We're like, okay. Yeah. But anyways, I graduated at the end of 2007, and 2008 we hit the economy crash, right?
Right. Yeah.
So because of that, it was extremely difficult, especially for car companies, for anyone going into that field to get a job. So I was lucky to hit a couple of contract gigs, but that's about it. And my young dumb
Church podcast.
My young dumb beep, right? Oh, wait. So we're keeping it PG then?
I could cut stuff. It's all good.
Oh, PG. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways,
PG-13.
this is for the 5th graders.
Yeah.
It's a word that you got to learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if the parents will love it. I don't know if they'll hate me or hate you.
Yeah. Anyways, instead of like pushing through, like striking, knowing that I struck gold and have my foot in the door, I quit the job because we had a horrendous team of bosses and upper management.
As it
So
tends to happen.
shouldn't have done that. That was with Acura, and the other one I had a very short stint with General Motors. But
Gotcha.
after that, I was basically freelance designing. I was basically an industrial designer for the majority of my design career. Probably from like 2007 to 2013. Yeah.
Was this all in California or West Coast?
It was all in California. Yeah. There's like, if you do anything from here, now you can do it remote, right? But that's
right.
that wasn't a thing. Yeah.
Are probably most if not all of the design jobs out west.
Yeah. I mean, designed in terms of industrial design. So industrial design is basically creating a product of any sort, a physical product, right? So if someone's designing, say, a chair, golf club, pair of shoes, table, it's got to be designed by somebody, right?
Sure.
So any object that you have or purchase needs to be designed. That's where quote industrial designer comes in and does their part. So it's sad because not many people know about industrial design, especially out here in the DMV. But yeah, it's a very interesting field, and I would strongly encourage anyone to go into that field because it's the coolest thing.
What brought you into industrial design in the first place?
I was actually chasing after a girl, and she was in art school. She was an industrial designer. She knew I was into cars, so she led me on to Art Center out in Pasadena, and she's like, "Yeah, they have a car design program." I'm like, "What? I'm not an engineer." They're like, "No, it's not engineering like at all."
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, if you work in the design department, you're going to be working with engineers in the engineer department. So we would be basically doing like the research, the sketching, the concept ideas, and even working on the clay models and whatnot. There's separate clay modelers and digital modelers too, but
any fun stories you remember from back? I guess 10,
only
10,
the
12
bad
years ago?
stuff. Like,
yeah.
Man, I remember at Acura there was a guy named Kogoshi.
Oh,
I that's got to be his name. It's so long
so
ago, I
specific,
can't remember.
It has to be correct.
Yeah. He would come in from Japanese headquarters in Tokyo,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's kind of like a thing where like he'll draw on the Japanese guys because they should know better and have the. I saw one of my Japanese coworkers on his knees in his office as if he's getting punished. I'm like, "You gonna." What's the thing where the Japanese people commit suicide with the with the knife?
Harikiri, seppuku.
I can't.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, is he about to? Is he about to? Wait. No. Get your camera.
Was the, I guess, work, well, how was the environment when you were working? Was it really kind of as you're saying?
It was very laid back. Yeah.
Really laid back.
It was
Okay.
pretty cool.
So very
Yeah.
different than what you're just suggesting
Yeah.
or saying for otherwise.
But that was more of the extreme stories.
Mhm.
Another one was this is not car design related,
Sure.
but I was freelancing for Cleveland Golf,
Interesting.
and we had a design to present. Oh no, sorry. It was a product design consultancy, and we were working together with Cleveland Golf. And Cleveland was coming in, and we're presenting the product to them. And then, I mean, they're like coming in an hour, right?
Right.
But it turns out they were already there, and no one is in like the presentation area. I'm like,
What's going on?
what is going on? And they're like, oh, we're just gonna go for a round of golf. And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, we're starting in an hour. It's like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that anymore. I'm like, no, are you serious? So, like, who's gonna lead am I? They're like, no, you're part of you're going out with us, and so is Cleveland. Well, where are we gonna make the presentation? Probably never. But I'm like, okay.
Wow,
So
definitely.
yeah, we just basically handed them the design work without presenting it, and that was that. Then that to me was I was floored as to
Flabbergasted.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, what was the most interesting design that you think you worked on, or your favorite? If it's NDA'd, you could just talk about generalities.
Probably the coolest one that I didn't really appreciate was this like NASA collaboration.
Was that with JPL?
With GM? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
With JPL. Yes. Because they're out in, what, is it Pasadena or Glendale? I can't remember
honestly.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But it was a totally like just a concept project.
Right.
Everything else to me was a little more mundane or whatnot, like doing like ladies and women's high-end shoes. Not exactly my thing, but we need to put food on the table. So
How do you even go so broad then? If you as you say, you don't really work with women's footwear normally. So how would you?
It's
in your
that's
mindset?
purely from networking. Yeah, it's not even like I'm looking in a professional sense, like going to companies and seeing what's offered or what. It's purely from either clients that I've had regularly or regularly work with, but a lot of it's been just from connections that I've developed from school and whatnot.
So how do you design something that you don't have much experience with, I guess?
Well, I would argue to say like it's in that field, especially from the school that I went to, once you're like halfway through the school, you're ready to go. The process is always going to be the same. You're going to be doing the research, come up with ideas and concepts, and then put it on paper, model it, meaning like put it into a 3D model, and then present that.
What was the average, I guess, turnaround time between pitch and completion of your projects?
It could have been anywhere from 3 hours to like several months.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I guess it depended on how finished they wanted the product to be, or is it more so your design process took more time for different products?
Well, certain things were a little bit easier. Like if it was just a simple product, like say if it was like digital electronics, right? If you're doing a remote control or a set of headphones, you can do those. You can turn those around pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's a car, a little bit of a different story, and I don't see because it's more complex to design, but because you're dealing with something that's a major investment of a consumer's finances, right?
Right.
So, I actually had an instructor, and all of our instructors at that school were working professionals. I had an instructor turn a car around in 3 hours for an independent automaker. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you really want to have the outcome of your car in 3 hours?
Right.
But I guess one thing about automotive design is there's also an architecture that's already set by separate architect designers as well. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes when it gets to the production level of cars, the design capability is somewhat limited to the engineering that's already set.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when you're working with engineering, how much back and forth is there when you want to design something and the engineers say that maybe it's not exactly feasible?
Oh, that's like the battle of the century every time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's back and forth all the time. And to give an idea, sometimes you're battling over literally 1 millimeter. And then sometimes you'll be high-fiving your design teammates and be like, we got 3 mil, bro. 3 mil. Yeah.
So when you're doing that back and forth, I guess your goal is to keep it as close to your original design as possible. Would you have stuff that you would specifically be okay with letting go and like have certain essentials, or would it kind of just be you would want pretty much everything to be as you designed it at?
Well, it's a team game, so you're not going to get everything you want. So it's just like presenting anything else. You want to just present as much as you can, and that's why you want to go as extreme as possible. I'm trying to keep this PG. You want to go as extreme as possible, so when things get reeled back, it's closer to what you originally had, right? So if you want huge wheels, you're gonna slap on like 26-inch wheels with like paper thin windows, right? And that way you'll be able to dial it back to 20-inch wheels.
Right. I was about to ask if you do like the barter or the haggling system where you just give a huge number and then you hope that it gets somewhere in between. Yeah.
And that's when the engineers would be like, we only have room for 17s, bro.
Like, okay, fine.
I'll work with you on the width. That's about it. Yeah.
As I was doing some of my research, quote unquote.
Oh my gosh, it's so creepy.
I saw that you were able to beat Super Mario on the NES in less than 7 minutes. Is this accurate, or is it fabrication?
This is true, and this does include the warp zones.
Right.
But yeah, and that's
pretty impressive.
This is something that the quote pastor John Chung. No, he's a legit pastor, but he's a quote pastor. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Pastor John Chung.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Pastor John Satan Chung. Yeah. Professes as well. He can beat in 5 minutes without any mushrooms or whatnot. So
How did you guys get to that point?
it's because we didn't have anything else, man.
Were you guys competing against each other, or was it just trying to?
Yes, that, and also we just both happened to be able to do it. And then there's the whole pride issue. Like, no, I can do it in 5 minutes. It's like, it's impossible. I'll time you, bro.
That's how long was that? That's probably like maybe a decade ago. Maybe 2 years ago?
It was like, this happened like, we're talking 2.5 decades ago.
Wow, that.
And then I posted something on Facebook, you creeper.
Yeah, I saw the photo.
Because I came back from Cali and I found my old NES and I'm like, oh, okay, let's do this.
So I don't know if you know, but speedrunning is getting really popular, and speedrunning is just generally beating a game as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And so I was looking up the current world record times, and it's actually 4 minutes and 54 seconds. So
that's,
you can imagine shaving 2 minutes off of your guys', I'm sure already really good time, right?
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
So I saw actually recently, just by chance, the world record for Super Mario Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's barely under 5 minutes. And
Right.
like, look at all these crazy tricks and glitches that they found.
Yeah.
So I'm immediately thinking like, John Chung is 5 minutes. Yeah, right, buddy. Okay.
What was Super Mario the primary game you guys were playing, or was there a lot more and that was just kind of
Oh, there was a ton. There was with him and me, there was Goldeneye. Was a big one.
The multiplayer or
yes,
single player?
Yeah. Goldeneye was the big one.
You got Oddball. Or Oddball is his name? The guy with the
Odd
hat?
Job.
Odd Job. Thank you.
He was the cheater, but
yeah.
we're like, fine, you get Odd Job. If I beat you, then you have Odd Job.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're doing this, and this with no pants outside. Yeah.
Wow, that's definitely upping
No
the antes,
pants
huh?
with Wangin. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to throw her in there. Is she going to listen to this?
She probably might.
I don't think so.
I think I saw that she
I
saw
don't think
one
so.
of the
We
recent
should name as many empty nesters as we can.
Uh-huh.
Is Owen going to listen to this?
Yeah, he listens to all of them.
We'll put it to the test. Okay.
Did you probably met Owen in 2012 when he came to CSPs, or did you know him before then?
I shook his hand. That's about it.
Uh-huh.
You know, at the end of services. And oh my gosh, the germs he must have on that.
Well, they don't do it anymore, so I think we can conclude that's probably true.
Yeah, I think I'd really had my first conversation with him, a short conversation, probably like 2016 or so.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I became a member.
Can you talk to me about your middle name real quick?
Yes, it is the letter. Is the letter C.
The letter C. Okay.
Yes, because that's an interesting question. Wow,
I know a lot of things.
Segue into the middle name. Well, as you might have remembered, my mom, when we came to the U.S., had no idea what the heck a middle name is.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, "Oh, middle name for okay." Well, and she likes to get things done quickly. She's extremely anxious about moving on and doesn't like to have any tasks. So she's like, okay, my name is June. Starts with the letter C. Okay, we're going to put C there. Thinking it's supposed to be just an initial, but it's supposed to be the whole name. And so my middle name is officially just C.
Have you figured out how to pronounce that? Is it just Jhoonho Yoon, or is it Jhoonho?
There's no pronunciation, sir. It's just the letter C.
Has that ever inconvenienced you having because they say like middle initial or full middle name, and then you just write the letter and like, oh no, you gotta write the entire thing.
It's inconvenienced me in that it gave straight up Korean. It was mostly the girls.
Mm-hmm.
They would say, "Oh, your middle name is C. What does that stand for?" I'm like, no, it's just the letter. My mom didn't know. They'd be like, "Oh, Jhoonho C. Jhoonho Steve. Oh, Jhoonho Steve.
Oh man, that's
all day. I'm like, oh gosh, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
It's you got something
Yeah.
to go to for anytime someone asks anything interesting about you. That's got to be something, right?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, after that, my parents eventually figured it out. But unfortunately for my brother, my mom was thinking like, oh, well, he has to follow suit with his brother. So let's think of a name. Okay, dad's name starts with a K. K. So,
Hey, I like it. They're sticking with the goal, right? That's telling.
yeah. So eventually people were like, oh, C and K. CK1, which was like the hot or cologne of the 90s.
Gotcha. Calvin Klein.
I'm like,
was.
oh God,
You guys smell good together.
that was such a creepy thing to say. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. Anytime anyone will look at you, they could clearly see you're a very huge man in terms of muscles.
I'm really not.
I mean, you kind of are.
I'm really not.
I looked at the old
I'm
pictures.
sorry. I will insult you.
Quite
You're just thin. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I know because
you
I
were
was
thin too.
I was the thin guy.
Yeah. So when you, I
was like probably 10% as cool as you were.
Or are 10% of zero is still zero, man.
Oh
so
my gosh. It's not zero. Probably at least one.
Oh, at least one. All right. Well, even
at
then,
least one.
It's not that much of a difference then. But you're into weightlifting a lot now. I don't know exactly how much you've been into it since you've had kids and everything. But what got you into that?
Well, I was always interested in hitting the gym and getting stronger or whatnot. Probably since high school. But I never really was consistent until I hit a phase of homelessness. And the gym was where I took a shower. So I kind of had to go there every day. And then it was also a morale boost in that like, oh, I have nothing and whatnot. And sorry, there's a whole grace story to that.
Sure.
But you can at least I'm improving on myself.
Sure.
So physically I'm improving. I'm getting myself to eat or figuring out ways to eat. And that pretty much started the whole gym thing.
Sure. So before we even continue with that gym thing, is that story something you would want to continue about, or maybe just for another time?
Sure. As long as you have time.
I have unlimited time.
I really don't
It's
think
a Saturday and I got nothing to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Eric Lee has nothing. I don't believe that.
To.
Okay, people are knocking on your door. And here's some delinquent old guy sitting at your table talking about his homeless days.
This is reminiscent of when we first had our meal together and we went to Tyson's afterwards. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
And we
talked about all this stuff.
Obnoxiously try to hit on girls on your behalf.
Yeah.
But
I remember I was so anxious. I wanted to leave.
There was nobody there to your luck.
I was like, please no.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But anyway, going back to your story.
What do you want to know? Do you want to know how I got into homelessness?
Sure.
Or?
I guess like just how it started and then just maybe things that you got out of it or.
I see. Well, first of all, that was probably, I would argue to say that was probably the most exciting time of my life.
Can you give a time frame?
Yes. This was in, from August to September. No. So what am I saying? August to December of 2013.
Okay. And this was California or was this?
Yes, this was in California. This was in Northern California, like the Bay Area, which is actually in the middle of California. But anyways, yeah. So, this was also after chasing a girl.
I'm noticing a pattern.
Yeah. So, yeah. So this, I'll put the blame on her. This girl basically drained me of all my money. This is a very high maintenance girl. I was freelance designing at the time. I lost pretty much all of my clients because they're all based in SoCal. And a lot of them I would just meet up with them at their office or studios face to face, right? So I made the big move because she gave me the ultimatum. It was like, it's either, this is long distance. It's not going to work. Either you come up here. Well, to be fair to her, it wasn't necessarily an ultimatum, but this is like the logistics of it, how it's going to work.
It just ended up kind of being like
that.
Yeah.
So it's like, but if you're going to stay down there, then we have to end our relationship. I was like, okay, well, we can't have that. I gave everything up. And then up there I went. And this girl was an extremely high maintenance, like Chanel everything kind of girl. Like I've never been to so many 5-star restaurants in my life.
I didn't even know restaurants are classified.
Yeah. I was like, what? Okay. How come it's like a 4-hour dinner? I don't understand, for like 3 Ps. Nice. So eventually the relationship went south because I had no money. And I couldn't pay for anything. And that was the end of the relationship. And that goes to show what kind of a relationship that was, right?
Yeah.
So here I am. The irony of it is I was living out on my car, and that car happened to be a BMW M3, which was like, wait, you have an M3 and you're homeless? Yeah. The funny thing is that I couldn't sell the car because the amount of maintenance that it needed exceeded the price of the car. So no one would buy it. So ironically, I'm buying this thing that's draining money out of my wallet. And I was basically living out of that. It was a scary time. There was a few nights where like the car door didn't work, so I couldn't get into the car. So I had to sleep outside for like maybe like a week at a time or something like that. So that was discouraging and exciting at the same time, because there was a ton of problem solving, and I was eventually I gathered my morale together. And going to the gym was probably the centerpiece of keeping myself positive, because there's something happening. And it was a gym membership that I just had, which was a 24-hour fitness, and it was like a anywhere in the country membership. So I was like, yes. So I was that weirdo who was like shaving at the gym and whatnot. So if you see that guy there, he might be someone. Yeah. It was interesting because you realize who your friends are, who will support you. And I was kind of minorly estranged from my family as well. It was like this, like, don't ever talk to me again, son, kind of a thing. And I'm like, oh, because I was with this girl or whatnot. So I was just completely by myself. Even, your friends can only help you out so much. It's not like you can just bum in to any friend, right? And so yeah, I was just out there homeless for a while, and I was able to gather myself from the morale I had from the gym going back, and I was able to get a job as a waiter, and then I had I was waiting tables and bartending at at a Japanese restaurant and then I also bartended. So I had 3 jobs. I had a job round the clock, essentially.
Right.
And early in the morning when, as working in the restaurant industry, unless you're at a breakfast place, like everywhere was closed. So that's when I would work out and do all that stuff. It was an exciting time because it's like a complete ground zero. Although all the good stuff is unfortunately just wiped out. All the bad stuff is wiped out too.
Sure.
So it's like a complete like
reset.
Yeah. Like your hard drive is just done, right? Yeah, there's nothing in there, but you can go wherever you want from there. It was an exciting time and no one could tell me no, yes or no. I didn't have any bosses and it was great. Even parents, dare I say, from the rebellious perspective. And believe it or not, I I'm an introvert, but I have extroverted skill sets.
Sure.
So I come off as an extrovert when I'm not. So I like to be by myself and whatever. And I had that when I was homeless. So that was actually great. Yeah. I mean, it was, I'm going around the whole like depressing side of things. Like, what am I going to do with my life? And, I had at many points, like negative few $100s in my bank account. Like, oh crap, what am I going to do? I have no money, no jobs. I had to lie about this and that from whenever I applied to all the restaurants to be able to just work for them. But eventually, yeah, it was encouraging to be able to be able to get those jobs. So that was like your world changed.
Right. Yeah.
Like, yes. Yeah. But what I got out of it was, other than, the exciting things of like, this is fight or flight the whole way through, the adrenaline's extreme, nonstop. What I got out of it was that it really, I think for a lot of us, but just for me personally, I got the luck of the draw because I knew how to get out. And I had the opportunity to be able to get out because I had progress in the gym. And a lot of people don't have that. So, although me being the douche, I have no mercy because I'm a jerk to the homeless or whatnot. But the reality is, I had the advantage because I had the tools to get out, and I was newly homeless. It's not like I was there settled into homelessness for like a decade or two.
Right.
So, wow, what a gift to be able to experience that. And that to me was my desert. And I was yelling at God at the top of my lungs. And I tried to do it in like in a foresty area. Yeah, because you can't just sleep wherever you want. So I would either hike to or drive to like these like places where nobody is, right? Or a really jam-packed parking lot where like no one will look in the cars. Yeah, so I would yell at God at the top of my lungs, and it took me back to just parts of the Bible where it would either be Job, be like, who are you to talk to me like that? Jesus being someone who was in poverty and being hated on by everyone.
Right.
It's like, you might be poor, but you don't have people like beating you,
right, because you're
and spitting at you and you're bleeding all over the place and cuts all over your body kind of status, like the people that you love. And then there was Moses being in the desert. So that was a huge blessing for me. And I think a lot of times we have the mindset of like, oh, I need Jesus. And it's just like, maybe it's, yes, you do need Jesus, but rather than being there, maybe you need to be in the desert to wipe everything out. And I luckily had that reset. So that was pretty awesome. And it gives me perspective and thankfulness to where I am, and be thankful to have stress. You're like, man, I wish I had the stress of like not being able to have a project and not being able to complete it because of like these things didn't happen or whatever. Just having that is a blessing. Like you at least have something, man.
Right.
And I was saying that to myself of the times I, like the Cleveland golf thing. Yeah. So it's like, man, you had that, and it was all for, it's like didn't make movement with it. Yeah. So it's something that I carry with me now.
Sure. So how do those perspective changes affect you in your day to day, whereas otherwise it might not have?
So after I was after I was home, well, let's just say towards the end of my homelessness, because I was able to acquire those 3 jobs. Eventually, I'd say the last month, when in December, I was financially good. I didn't have a place to live. That was somewhat by choice because I had my rhythm now.
Sure.
Now I know
Right.
I've
What to
picked my
do.
spots where to sleep. I'm comfortable by the time I wake up, I'm rejuvenated. I know where my clothes are. I eventually got like a storage unit to keep all my things. And I had a plan to start my own restaurant. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take all this money. And I had nothing to spend it on, right? This because I'm homeless. I had no
Right,
bills.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just my car, and that was it. And I was desperately trying to sell it. Nobody would buy it because of all the issues it had. So I was trying to find a sucker to buy this thing. Yeah, but if you can't open the doors or if the car doesn't start, then it's like, what am I? And it's an M3. I know it's going to be expensive to maintain. So yeah, I had this plan to start my own business and have safety money to start over again and continue working in the restaurant business or whatever. So, and to be able to start my business and keep that cycle going until business caught on and I was successful. But there was a huge weight on my shoulders of how I was somewhat estranged from my parents. So they shunned me out. I shunned them out. I can't tell you who was first or whatever. There was just fighting between the two of us over some girl. What are you doing with your life? You're no longer my son. And I'm like, I never was.
Wow.
You know, the big guns, right? Yeah, the low blows. I should rewind back to how I became closer to. Well, thinking about those parts of the Bible got me closer to God.
Right.
One phrase that I heard him say to me, which is basically my imagination saying it, but I know they're his words, is that I am the Lord of the universe. Right. So I never forgot that. It's like, I know who's in control here. Not just in control. I know who is my rock, and he is the same and pure and the truth every time. Time and time again, he is there. He's here, right? So going back to my parents, that weight was always there to reconcile with them. And what really drove me to move back was to have a relationship with my parents again. And by doing that, I was able to reconnect with my brother too. We were always okay.
Sure.
But there's a disconnect because I'm disconnected to my parents. I always like cover it up with like, no, I wanted to learn business from my dad because he's successful. But the reality was that I counted the number of times I would see them if my relationship with them was good, if I stayed on the West Coast. And I counted like 20 something more times. Like if my parents like died in their 80s, because they were in their 60s at the time. So I'll be like, I'll probably see them once a year. And if they die in their 80s, which my grandparents did, and my dad does not have healthy habits at all. His blood pressure is high, but he falls asleep with potato chips in his hands. He doesn't care. Nothing's getting over the way. I mean, yeah. Anyways, so I had to reestablish that with them. And that to me was important, not necessarily to build a relationship with my parents, but also because I saw the formula of how God works, and that God is love, and that we're made in the image of God. And there was also a book that I read by Erwin McManus, who was a pastor at the Mosaic Church in Los Angeles. And that book was titled Soul Cravings. And there was the first third of the book was about love and how we're created in it and that God is it. And that's what we crave the most. And that's what we crave to, I guess, not necessarily give, but be involved with the most. I mean, if you really think about it, it's the truth of anything that we do, even sin, right? It's something we crave love, right? So and if I wanted to be someone who lived in truth and be the fullest person that I wanted to be, coming from a selfish point, I need to love, and I need to love my parents. And that was one of God's commandments, to honor your mother and father. So I absolutely had to do that. And that's the main reason why I moved back to the East Coast, because I was always the guy who was like, why would you live there? There's nothing going on there. Try to get some ramen. I bet you it tastes horrendous, right? It's cold in the winters. It's hot and humid in the summer, right? And if you're in LA, I'm sorry, it's 70 degrees, and we run for jackets when it's 60.
So did you give up things by moving back to Virginia, besides, the weather and all those things out there? Or was it kind of still going from, I'm not going to say zero, but like pretty equal, and you're just coming back to love your family a little bit more?
I did, because I got involved in my parents' business. So it became the family business again. I did work with them in the past, and it always worked smoothly. Like if I had an issue, like they'd be like, okay, well, no. And then no one would care the next day. It was like, that's the way it is. Okay. But what I gave up was my independence, that introverted whole thing. I'm free, right? And especially being homeless, I'm free. I've got no it's
worries,
the Hakuna Matata, bare necessities moment, right? And you're living a life, and then you got to go back to your parents. Dang it. That's the prodigal son is back.
Right. And to willingly do that, right? That more so than they're calling you back and saying you have to. Yeah. So the whole restaurant idea, was that kind of scrapped when you came back here?
Yeah. It wasn't my dream,
right,
or anything like that. This is a way that I'm thinking, like, I'm going to be this is the quickest route for me to be on my feet, to be able to fix my freaking car, get rid of it. And, foolish enough, I was thinking like, and get my next M3. Okay.
Prove something to yourself, huh?
Yeah. And so, scrapped all that. Scrapped the whole idea of like, the American dream thing. Screw that. And just relationship with my parents.
Kind of refocus on what you thought was important, I guess.
Yes.
In the family relationships and things like that. Makes a lot of sense.
It was also spawned by that quote that Jesus said when it was asked, like, when he was saying these two are the greatest commandments: love the Lord your God and love your neighbor. When it really comes down to it, one of the most important things in his life is to build relationships. And so if I'm building relationships with a ton of people, having a, positive thing going on there, growing love, and I'm not doing it with my family, like my roots, or I have no foundation, or I'm not caring about my foundation and the people I'm tied to by blood. And like, if you speak in an old fashioned sense, like, my house is not established.
Sure. So how can you go out and build others? Yeah, makes sense. So I remember when we first met and
held hands.
Yeah, held hands. We were talking about how different Nova was back when you were growing up and versus kind of how it is now. We were talking specifically, I think, about Tyson's and Mosaic area.
Oh yeah.
So, are there any extreme examples of like the differences between back when you're growing up and now? And why do you think things are so different?
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, there's Good Morning America going like, well, we have an important discovery to make. There is this thing called the internet. Tell us more about it, Jerry.
That's a good impression.
So that's what we probably were, growing up with. My specific generation or decade was the transition time, right? So we have a taste of what it's like to be without, and then what it's like to have it. But essentially it was the early phase. So there's nothing there. Okay. So there's no researching if this place is good or not. You just gotta go. And nobody, well, from my age group, nobody knew, because you're a teenager.
Right. Yeah. We don't have the perspective.
So there's no like, oh yeah, I went to this restaurant or that restaurant or that place and go here. And yeah, so nobody knew anything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But now everybody knows.
Yeah. Just feels completely different, huh?
Yeah. It's weird. So I feel like that brings on, because we have so much knowledge of things, it brings on like being a jerk. Because and because you can call someone out, right?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Or like, this is not what it looks like in the photo.
Right.
Or like, I had it here and there, and this is not as good.
Having perfect information can be bad sometimes, because it leads to that expectations, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I feel like the more we have, like the level of perfection rises.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that was probably something that was good back in the day, even though you didn't know where to go and you had to.
It's all word of mouth.
Yeah, because if you drive somewhere and you have a map that's great and all, but you still don't know where that spot in the map is.
Yeah, she's like,
off of like
over here.
Yeah, so you had to stop by a 7-Eleven. That's the guy who speaks no English. Yeah.
Like, where is this restaurant?
Yeah. What? Are you going to buy my soda or not? And you're like, oh, but wait. You don't have the money, so you have to go back, beg for like 25 cents from some random guy, and then ask that guy. He doesn't speak English. So it's like a theatrical event.
Whole cycle.
Yeah.
Do you think it feels like Nova feels like the same area, just grown and evolved, or do you think it just feels like a completely different?
It's completely different.
Completely different.
It's completely different. Well,
does that lose the heart then of what it used to be, or is it just
no? Okay. I don't think there was a heart.
Oh, okay,
pretty
sure.
much. Yeah,
just associated bunches of areas.
It's a different phase, is all it. Because I don't want to speak badly about this phase, because it's just a different era. Mm-hmm. That's all it is, and the way I see it is not like, oh, it's the tech era or whatever. I think this is the more of the era of, now we're seeing people who are extremely fruitful and highly educated and, dare I say, affluent, because of the level of knowledge we have, especially in this area. We all know about, like, if we all, meaning like if we're all Northern Virginia people, we all know about like how good the schools are, how affluent Fairfax, Loudoun, and Arlington are.
Sure.
Right. In the country, we're like top five every year.
Right?
Yeah, every year. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the funniest thing. You see like Gucci, Tokyo, London, New York, Tyson's Corner. You're like, where is that? Mike Tyson has a Gucci store?
Mike Tyson's too.
Yeah.
What do you think would be the next phase then of Nova after whatever we're in right now?
I don't know, because dare I say, and I'll say it out of ignorance, I personally think Nova has no imagination. Yeah.
Can you give an example?
Can you expound on that?
Can
you expound on that? Yeah, absolutely, I can.
Oh, thanks, Jhoonho.
Yeah. Well, imagination. Well, I'll say it's crazier than it was, because we have internet and social media now, right? But the the origin of ideas here, I feel like are limited by conservatism here. Education to career, and you're just kind of locked in a little bit, and it's a lot of ladder climbing around the area. A good example, I'm not saying that, you have to be an artist or whatever, but I sense that we go by patterns here and follow the pattern that we know is going to work, rather than going off in the deep zone and just doing our own thing and not caring about having fingers pointed at you and you're like, what are you doing? You're off the track. Let's get back on, buddy. And then people even being accountable for you with good intentions. I don't see too much of that in the DMV area. And if we have people like that, they migrate out.
Right. New York, West Coast.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah. Dare I say even Texas now?
Yeah.
Probably because it's super cheap to live there. Yeah.
No,
right? Like everybody hears about Austin and Denver and all. Yeah. So I just hope that maybe a seed is planted, but we have so much that is established here.
Right. It's going to be hard to like restart that or reinvigorate some kind of 2 p.m. I remember your watch beeped.
Oh, yeah. You get distracted so easily.
I just noticed things.
Nice.
Going back to your weightlifting, what do you personally now get out of weightlifting besides big muscles that you keep doing it? Because, hobbies are hard to maintain for the long term because you get bored of it or whatever. But as far as I can see, you're still well engrossed in the hobby and you do competitions.
Yes. Well, I still do lift weights. I do a lot of powerlifting. And
which is different from lifting as a general concept. How?
Oh, well, powerlifting is a specific sport actually. And it's divided. The three main lifts that make powerlifting are the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. Kind of like if I said Olympic weightlifting, like you see in the Olympics, hence the name.
Sure.
Is the clean and jerk where they heave a bar onto their shoulders and then press it up. And then there's the snatch, which is where they fling a bar over their heads, right? Just straight up in like two movements. But I got involved in powerlifting because your progress is extremely
measurable.
Yes. So, I mean, it's extremely obvious.
Sure.
You see the number, that's where you're at. And the goal is a number. Very easy, right? Very Virginia of me, isn't it?
Higher, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've always been chasing certain numbers, or one thing I've been trying to do for a few years actually is to get to just participate in the national championships. So you have to hit certain numbers to be able to get to there.
Is that age bracketed or is that?
There's age brackets too. So that's the route that I would take because the open class is horrendously strong now.
Right.
I'm like,
I would imagine.
you squat like 800 pounds and you weigh less than me and I'm skinny. Okay. What? Yeah. You're not on drugs? Okay, buddy.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. But yeah. I stayed consistent with that because things got difficult for me after I got married, had kids for obvious reasons, and also COVID. I had an opportunity in 2020 to make it to Raw Nationals, is what it's called. I compete in a couple of different federations. But there's one called the USAPL, USA Powerlifting, and they have an event called Raw Nationals. And at the time, if you're able to win Raw Nationals, you can you'll be eligible to compete in the world's competition.
Whoa, wow, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the goal.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm getting pretty close to being able to be competitive with the number one guy. If I'm the number two guy, I'll at least be the alternate. Yeah. Or if they need an extra guy because the team's not rounded out, then I can go and compete as well. So that would be kind of cool if you get like a podium or whatever, you see the flag going up your hand on your heart and the USA like uniforms on and everything. So I was
That'd
like,
be sick. Yeah.
I'd be like, that's something worth chasing after. So yeah, COVID happened and all the competitions were wiped out. And then in 2021, I was about to compete to qualify, and then I got COVID.
Oh,
so I was like,
oh man, tough.
Yeah. So 2022 came around, and this is in the thick of parenting, and like my strength just kind of baselined, and and so I'm trying to get back into it now, and I've got another competition coming up in March, so I should be able to qualify for nationals then. Sure. So that's kind of my little old guy like having his fun kind of thing.
What do you currently weigh, and what are your PRs?
I weighed myself this morning at 158 pounds. This year I was able to do, I was able to squat about 430.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. With what, we call an RPE, which is like a rated perceived exertion. So I'd say RP 8, which means if you're at an RP 10, you can't do any more reps. So an RP 8 with 2 more reps in the tank. And my goal is to try to get to 440.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm hoping I get somewhere in the 430 to 440 in competition. My bench is at 315 if I just bounce it off my chest.
Yeah. That might be a little painful.
Yeah, if I pause it, my PR is 300.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to pause it in competition. So I'm like, dang it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And sometimes, if the judge is being
crazy.
strict, they'll be like, so there's the commands. You unrack the bar and you have to hold it there until the judge deems that your arms are locked out and it's controlled. And then they say start. And then when it comes off your chest, they say press. And you can't just rack it. That you have to wait for them to say rack.
You're like, oh, just say it.
Yeah. So even if it's 1 second, it feels like forever. You're like, oh, okay, it's heavy. If I go now, I can get it. But you're not saying, can we? Yeah.
And then deadlift is the last one you say?
Deadlift is about, my PR is 525 or 530. It was a while back. But,
are any of those numbers, I guess, higher than do you specialize in any one of those three, I guess, or are they all about like what you should be doing for your class?
Yeah, they're all like fairly good numbers. I think the deadlift is probably my strongest lift in terms of what another federation would consider a master level lift, and then there's the elite level, which I'd like to get. No, sorry, that would be an elite lift is 522. So that's pretty nice. Yeah,
that's pretty nice.
Yeah. There's actually this kid named Andrew Kang that I'm excited. You know, Dr. Sarah Kang.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So her son, is he a freshman in college now?
He might be.
Well, either way, he's a late teenager. This kid is surging in strength. It's exciting to watch.
Wow.
So he is deadlifting almost 600 pounds if he's not there already. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It's nuts. And he looks exactly the same. He might be a little more jacked, right? Yeah. But he was already jacked to begin with, to be fair. So,
Maybe we'll get Andrew on here next time.
Yeah. He's like, I'm still learning addition and subtraction. And
I can lift a lot.
I deadlift 600 pounds.
Let's see. So going into...
Wow, you are set up.
I like to be prepared.
If you want me to tangent off,
We're actually
we're ready to blast
approaching
off.
completion. So I have a couple,
Approaching completion?
I have a couple of final like cool down questions, but
Oh, wow. You don't want to go into hot topics?
we could go back into your hot take. Did you think?
Oh,
of that?
hot takes. Sorry.
Hot Topic is the clothing brand.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Do you think of a hot take in
No,
that
I did
entire
not.
time? All right.
I don't prepare.
I've learned
I'm sorry.
that that's kind of a hard thing for people to come up on the spot. I think unless they have one like lined up for some reason, maybe I should switch up that question. But what about if you were to describe yourself in 3 nouns?
3 nouns?
3 nouns. What would they be? And my sister told me, asked me this question, so I could give credit to her for that one. But so it could be
Nouns? Oh, wow.
or
I could
3
say-
words,
I
but
could say
nouns.
adjectives. Nouns is better.
Yeah, because nouns kind of put you into like a
place or
specific
thing, right? Like you could say
yeah.
like bear.
Sure. I said mine were cringe.
That's not a noun.
awkward. Yeah, you're right. Those are adjectives. This was before she gave the stipulation that they'd be nouns. So nouns.
Nouns. Wow. Now I never even heard of that.
Yeah.
It
It makes
was-
you think, huh?
That's imaginative.
Yeah.
Doesn't she live in Baltimore?
She doesn't. She's almost done though. She's going to residency next year. She should be learning about her matches this week actually for residency.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Shout outs.
Yeah. Good for her.
It's so creepy how much you love her. I've never heard anyone really say that. I love my sister so much.
I do love my sister.
Okay, wow. And then you said it
Yeah.
to make it creepier. Okay, nouns. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. You can't use adjectives or verbs, huh?
Sure.
Verb would be a kind of a weird one too.
Verb would be run.
Interesting. Yeah.
Fall.
Yeah. Wow. Describe yourself with a noun. That doesn't even work,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, husband. That's one.
Describe yourself.
Christian is one. And now you can't even use those. So now you need to figure out more.
I wasn't even going to use those.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I would hope you'd have that.
Apparently,
imaginative
that should
flair,
be your. Those
design
should be your
flair.
first 2, right? But we're not going for the obvious ones. Like, man,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If you said those, I'd probably okay. Those are nice 3. What about 2 more?
we're like, I want to like let's get imaginative.
Yeah.
Like pepperoni grease.
Yeah.
That's 2 words. I'm
That-
sorry,
That is. You know what? Well, we.
but it's one thing though, right? It's one thing.
Sure.
All right. Well, if it's one thing and not one word, I'm going to say Panda Express.
Panda Express. Sure.
It's my favorite all-time restaurant.
Okay.
Believe it or
Okay.
not.
That I believe that they
Bang
have.
for the buck.
What's
That's
your
all I have to say.
favorite option there?
It is the orange chicken.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry. It just is. It's
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why there's so much of it. Second thing. Sorry, I kind of cheated. Panda
okay.
Express.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
Okay.
Proper noun's fine.
Okay. Is that what it is? Proper noun?
I think so. I think store names are proper nouns.
You got me there.
Unless it's just
I'm
Panda
sorry.
and Express.
I don't know the
a very
labels.
fast Panda.
All right. Number 2. Well, I'll go obvious. Barbell,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
Sure.
That fool probably
I'd say that
has
definitely
like
describes a good portion of
has-
Jhoonho.
calluses on his freaking hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, we
barbell.
go climbing together sometimes. I still need to do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm game for that. There's a new place in Falls Church, right? Or Springfield?
Tyson's.
I'm not thinking of that place. I'm sorry.
mm.
But either way.
Oh, the St. James, that one?
No,
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking somewhere else. Maybe it is St. James.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I would know of the new type climbing gyms, but maybe I don't.
All right. While I was stalling, let me be like as blunt.
Sure.
Okay. It's a little gross.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say poop.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one you need to explain.
My wife would know.
I think I'm sorry, Cindy.
I would say that there aren't too many people out there that have as much frequency of healthy poops as me. So I will poop, especially these days. I poop about 5 to 6 times a day,
That's impressive.
like healthy ones. Like
Is that
there-
because
it's
of
one
your
piece.
diet?
That too.
Uh-huh.
but I just naturally have a very good digestive system. My brother, to see if it's genetic or not, he didn't get that. But, yeah, I got it from my dad
No healthy
too.
poops. Yeah.
He's good. But yeah, that's 3, right?
That's 3.
Panda
Ding,
Express,
ding, ding, ding. Barbell,
poop.
poop. Those
Oh, 2 of those are related to the physical stuff. I tried not
That's
to.
good.
Actually, all 3 are.
Yeah. I mean, they're all nouns, so you would probably hope they're related to real stuff. I only said unicorn.
That would be my daughter.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Unicorn.
Yeah.
Oh, baby would be.
Baby.
That's it right now.
That's like probably a third of your life, huh?
It's actually, I would argue to say it's almost. It's like getting to 75 to 80.
Oh,
it's that crazy. That's why I'm like, no, just it's not what you think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The whole if I'm gonna raise my kid like this, and that doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's luck of the draw and good luck.
Well, something unexpected that you learn when you're raising kids.
Oh, geez.
Besides how much they poop.
That would be it. I'd be like, because I'm like, I thought it would be like 10 diapers a day or something like that. Oh, you peed again. Okay, I get it. But like creeping up to 30, like you pooped and you're pooping again. I expected he's gonna pee and it's gonna hit my shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I know, right? I watched 3 Men and a Baby, right?
Yeah.
But that would be wow, that much, huh?
Yeah. Do you kind of get numb to like how dirty it all is now?
Yeah, you do. Because you do it so much.
Yeah.
You can't get around that.
Yeah.
Now it's just like if there's poop on my hands,
Just like doing another chore, right?
I
You're like,
won't wash
whatever.
it
Yeah.
because it's coming around again in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. All right.
And we're good. And it's gotten to the point where like it's just a smidge of poop. I can still eat. This is here. Give me. Yeah.
I'm going to have you wash your hands before we go out after this. Okay, so last question I like to ask everyone before we finally close for today is just, if you were to think about people in your life who's influenced you in your spiritual journey, who is one person that that you would really want to kind of give a shout out to or just talk about as like your experience growing up, in the Christian faith? Because you've been part of CCPC so long, I want to say specifically CCPC, if you can do that. But if not,
CCPC?
totally fine. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, you said growing up though.
Okay. Well, growing up to this point, you were still growing, right?
You're growing in your 30s.
The muscles, right? That's
What's funny? About. Actually, Cindy just mentioned yesterday. Is like, I think I need to be grown up finally. I'm like, you're heading towards 40. You're rounding 40. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Someone CCPC who's been an influential
factor in your life. Let's say no pastors either.
I don't want to say John Chung.
Yeah. He's not even CCPC anymore.
But he was, right? So that's CCPC influence. Well, he wasn't at CCPC at the time.
Oh, that's true. We're KCPC.
And I crushed Cindy's image of the pastor of John. Actually, he did it to himself.
Yeah.
He did it to himself. But he never wanted that anyway.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's CCPC.
People you grew up with.
Your
Jhoonho
Yoon.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's left field it.
It's definitely how left field.
But it's not though for me.
Sure.
Personally. Yeah. He was a really good influence on me when I was in college. And he's still a member. He's still exactly the same. Yeah. But yeah, very goofy dude. If people don't know, he can freestyle hip hop.
I had no idea. I'm going to bring him on next time and get him to
he knows how to do it. And he's good. See, that goes to show as to my skills of that, whatever. Yeah. He's good at it. He's
at
good.
The thing.
Yeah. The thing where you use your mouth. Yeah. He freestyle raps.
Do you have any localized moments that you remember that kind of emphasizes how he might have helped you in your spiritual journey?
Yeah, he helped to encourage me to keep with the word, and in dark times to go back to it.
Sure.
So that was also somewhat of an influence to me, to go back to the Bible when I was homeless.
Right.
So that was a pretty big factor, whether he knows it or not. And he was an influence because he's also extremely, or at the time he had an extremely short attention span like I did. And then he would say something like, you know what, we need to read the Bible in light of Jesus. Yeah, that things like that installed those think about Jesus in the Old Testament things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the age difference between you two?
I think it's only like a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what is he now? 28? So
Something like that. Yeah. You're like 30, right?
Oh my
Something like
God.
that.
So yeah. And so when I saw him in 2016 and they're like, okay. And I was like, Yoon, that guy,
Yeah.
goofy dude and definitely childish.
Mm-hmm.
To say the bad things. Okay.
Sure.
Obviously there's the good outweighs the bad, but just to label that for the sake of the story. He's like, I can't believe you're back here, man. It's been like a decade. I haven't seen you. I'm like, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're like,
Consistency.
we would like to call up our deacon candidates, Q&U. And I'm like, what? No, what? What kind of a church is this? And then I was thinking, oh, what kind of a church is this? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe I could be a pastor too.
There you go.
Do you want me to
You're working
pastor
on
your
that, right?
children?
Yeah,
Okay. You need to get the drugs out of the way early anyway.
There
Yeah.
you go. Wow, this one's gonna be quite the episode.
Hey, this was tame.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
I was trying to listen to intellectual, mature podcasts to prevent myself
Okay. On the
from
way up.
going off. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we did a great job.
Yeah, I was telling my wife, like, they better know what he's coming. Yeah.
Oh, I always know what I'm walking
Son
into.
of Satan is coming to his house.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah. All right, Jhoonho, but this has been our time. It's been great talking to you.
Are you sure you don't want to extend it to like 2 hours?
We can wait till the next beef.
Oh, wow.
Lunch,
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
We totally could, but I gotta edit this down. So thanks for everyone for watching. We'll talk to you next time.
Adios.